I've been seeing internet trolls and even the main sports people, sports writers, saying Oklahoma is going to be the next Nebraska in SEC. But today I'm going to give you a historical look at Oklahoma through the years and give you my reason why I think OU will not be the next Nebraska. And y'all can sit there and say this is the modern era. I don't care. I'm going to show you right here of why I think Oklahoma is not going to be the next Nebraska in the SEC. I know we have our issues right now, but I digress. I'm not going to get into that. That's not what this video is about. But first, thank you for pulling up to the channel. I'm your host, Mike, the Legend of Sooner Legends podcast. And if you're new to the channel, new to the family, hop down and hit that red subscriber button. Turn on your post notification bells. That way you won't miss any OU football content or historical videos that I will be putting out. If you look at the bottom, if you're on a computer and you look down at the bottom right hand corner of the screen, you will see a YouTube icon. You can hover your mouse over that and you can subscribe to the video without leaving the video. Could you give me a like and a comment? Because it's little things like that that helps push the algorithm of YouTube. And for small content creators such as myself, it means the world. And could you share the video? Because sharing is caring. Well, like I stated at the first of the video, that I see pundits, sports talk writers, the whole shebang. OU is the next Nebraska in the SEC. Big fat red X. And here's why. In between each great coach that has ever set foot at Owen Field, between the coaches, there's always been twilight years. And what I mean by twilight years is coaches that were brought in that didn't meet the prior head coach's standard. And everybody knows when you follow a great, usually it don't turn out to be great. So I'm going to start out with our legendary coach, first coach to go over 100 wins, Benjamin Gilbert Owen, Benny Owen. He was OU's first head coach to go over 100 games, and Benny's record from 1905 to 1926 was 122 and 54. So after Benny leaves the program in 26, OU hires Adrian Lindsey, who went 19 and 19 over a period from 1927 to 1931. After Lindsey, it was Louis Hardage from 1932 to 1934. His record was 11 and 12. And then we hired Biff Jones, who was OU's head coach from 35 to 36. His record was 9 and 6. And then we hired Tom Stidham. He was OU's head coach from 37 to 1940. Tom was starting to put OU back on the winning tradition that Benny Owen had established back in the the early turn of the century and the 20s. But what happened during that time, during Tom Stidham's era? World War II. So, but Tom's record, 27 and 8. He was the first coach since the Benny Owen era that had a winning record. But WW2 stopped all that. And OU at that time was pushing in players going to the different services they was drafted into. So you couldn't field a 4-year program during World War II because these players was coming into OU playing, getting conditioned, and then off to war they went, over whether it be in Europe or Japan or wherever they was campaigning. So Tom Stidham, like I said, he was 1937 to 1940, and his record was 27-8. Dewey Snorter Luster takes over from 1941 to 1945. His record was 27-18. And there again, now Snorter was in the height of WW2. And so he couldn't field a consistent team year in, year out because of service members coming through the program. And it was like that all over the college campuses during World War II. They were bringing in soldiers to get fit and conditioned, and then off to war they went. So after Snorter Luster, like I said, he was 41 to 45, 1941 to 1945. His record was 27-18. So after Snorter announced he was retiring, OU gets a new AD. His name was Dr. Lloyd Cross. And Cross got with the Border Regents, one of them being the man whose name is on the side of the name of our basketball center, Lloyd Noble. And they collectively hired Jim Tatum, and Jim Tatum brought a assistant coach with him by the name of Charles Burnham Wilkinson, aka Bud Wilkinson. So Tatum was here for 1 year, and he went 8-3. And then he took the job at Maryland. Bud takes over, and Bud goes on that immaculate putting OU back on the map. As a matter of fact, I credit Bud for giving us national recognition during his tenure, because TV was still brand new. And so, and also from what I've read through history, is what actually put Oklahoma on the map is you had Rodgers and Hammerstein's Broadway musical Oklahoma, and Mickey Mantle doing his thing with the Yankees, and everybody was wanting to see what Oklahoma football was all about. And I've got videos of this in my playlist. But Bud was here from 1947 to 1963. His record was 145-29. He had 3 national championships, his first being in 1950. And then he won back-to-back in 55-56. And he also owns, which OU still owns, the 47-game winning streak, which Notre Dame in 57 took us away from our 48th straight win. So after Bud resigns in 63, Bud takes, at first Bud was on President Kennedy's physical fitness program. And then Bud went on to be color analyst with Chris Schenkel on ABC college football back in the day. I remember when Bud was a color commentator. And then after Bud left, they hired, thinking that Bud's assistant would do as good as Bud, they hired his longtime assistant, Gomer Jones. And Gomer was head coach from 64 to 65, and his record was 9-11, putrid. So in 66, before the 66 season, OU hires off of the Frank Broyles staff Jim McKenzie, and to be the head coach. And Jim brought along with him Barry Switzer, Chuck Fairbanks, to name Larry Lacewell, Galen Hall, Jimmy Johnson, list goes on. So McKenzie only got to coach 1 year in 66, and his record was 6-4. In 1967, Jim McKenzie was on a recruiting trip in the panhandle of Texas. And when he got back to Norman, he suffered a massive heart attack and passed away in 67. And Chuck Fairbanks took over head coaching. Fairbanks was coach from 67 to 72, and his record was 49-18. And in 72, after the 72 season, he goes to the New England Patriots to become their head coach. And OU gets put on probation for the 73, 74, and 75 season. Because our assistant coach, Michaels, altered 2 transcripts from Kerry Jackson and Mike Phillips from Ball High School in Galveston, Texas. And because Kerry had played during the 72 season in garbage time, they put us on probation for that. Kerry was supposed to have been our first black quarterback for OU. He was 6'1", 6'2", about 210, 212, but could run the wishbone like you've never seen in your life. Man, but never got his opportunity. Steve Davis took over the quarterbacking job, and so Barry Switzer was hired for the 73 season. Barry Switzer was head coach from 73 to 88, having a record compiled of 157, 29, and 4. 4 ties. 3 national championships. Back-to-back 74, 75, and again in 1988, and a whole slew of Big 8 titles. So Barry resigns in 88. There again, Gary Gibbs, longtime assistant and former football player on the national championship team of 70-74, Gary Gibbs, who played linebacker and then was defensive coordinator for Oklahoma in the 80s, takes over the head coaching job from 89 to 94, and his record was 44, 23, and 2. And then we hired the dud, hired Schnellenberger, 5, and 1. I'm not even going to talk about him. That was in 1995. He was only here for 1 year. And then John Blake, he gets on board from 96 to 98, and his record was 12 and 22. So, and then we hired Bob Stoops. We all know Stoops' record. He was here from 1999 to 2016, where he compiled 190 wins and 48 losses. And then after Bob Stoops, we hired Lincoln Riley, who went 55 and 10. And then he leaves in the middle of the night, and Bob is interim. He wins 1 game, which was the Alamo Bowl, and now we're at Brent Venables, who is presently at, I'm not even going to say his record right now because we're that bad. But what my point is OU is not going to be the next Nebraska, because we are always, when we're, as I pointed out through these head coaches, when we're going through our twilight years, we're just one head coach away from getting back to championship level. It might take us a few to get back to that, but we always seem to bring in, at the right time, a coach who puts us back on the winning track. I will always believe that. I will never, ever, ever sit here and tell anybody that my Sooners will never be Nebraska in the SEC. Sorry, ain't going to happen. Not with the historical value I just showed you. So that's all I got. I thought I would share this with y'all. Kind of show you some history of Oklahoma football. Y'all hop down in the comments. Tell me what you think. This is the legend. We'll see you on the backside. God bless. Boomer Sooner.